This is lesson 14-3, percents greater than 100 and less than 1. Our essential question, how can you express percents greater than 100 and less than 1? So we have some examples here. There's no vocab for this lesson. Example number 1, write the value in two other ways. So that means we have a percent, so we're going to be writing as a decimal and a fraction. So if we change this to a decimal, we start at the end and we move 2 places to the left. So our decimal is 1 and 50/100ths. Or you could drop that 0 off the end and make it 1 and 5/10ths. It would be the same thing. Now, when we make this into a fraction, it's really going to be a mixed number. So again, I want you to think back to topic 6 when we did this. So we just focus on the part that is after the decimal right now. So we're looking at the last digit, which is in the hundredths place. So we put 50 over 100. And remember, with that whole number that's in the front, we just put it right back on the front. So it's 1 and 50/100ths. But we know 50 and 100 can both be divided by 50. So when we do that, we get 1 and 1/2. Example number 2, we have a percent. So we're going to be doing a decimal and a fraction. Now, I know that there's a decimal already in the problem, but don't let that confuse you because it's still a percent. So when we have a percent and we want to get it to a decimal, we move it 2 places to the left. That's the same thing. So 1, 2 places. I don't have anything here, so I have to put in a 0 there. So my decimal becomes 2 thousandths. Now I can change that into a fraction. I look at the last digit. The 2 is in the thousandths place. So I put 2 over 1,000. I know 2 and 1,000 can both be divided by 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. So there is my fraction. And here is my decimal. Example 3. Again, doing a decimal and a fraction. Let's do our decimal first. We always imagine the decimal at the end if there is not already 1 in the number. We move it over 1, 2 places to make it a decimal. And we have 3 and 25/100ths as our decimal. For our fraction, we keep the whole number, which is 3. We take the fractional part, which is 25, and we put it over the last digit's place. And the 5 is in the hundredths place. So we put it over 100. Now 25 and 100 can both be divided by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. And you notice I just took my whole number and put it right in front again. So here is my mixed number. Example number 4. Now again, I know this is in fraction form, but it's still a percent because it has the percent sign. So let's change this into a decimal. to make it easier to work with. When we have a fraction and we need to change it to a decimal, we have to divide. We put the numerator inside. Now, 10 cannot go into 3, so we put a 0. We also have to add a decimal and a 0 and bring the decimal up. And 10 goes into 30 3 times evenly. So, we have 3/10%. All I did was change this part to a decimal so it would be easier for us to work with. It's still a percent. Okay, so now I have to actually change it because it's still in percent form. So to change it to a decimal, we move it 1, 2 places. And I'm going to have to add a 0 there. So the decimal is 3/1000ths. To change this to a fraction, you have to put the 3 over the last digit's place, which is the thousandths place. And that becomes our fraction because it cannot be reduced. So here's our decimal, and here's our fraction. Alright, so you're doing the same thing for number 2. If you're confused, I want you to go back and look at that last example to figure that out. Don't forget a word problem or question and rate your understanding.